So India has been sending groups of members of parliament to various global capitals. One group that went to the East Asian countries, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia and Indonesia. One of the members of that group was Mr. John Brittas. He's a member of parliament of the CPI-M in the Rajya Sabha. Thank you very much, Mr. Brittas, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. When you went to these countries, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, etc., what was the reception you got? Were those capitals sympathetic to India's point of view, that why India needed to carry out Operation Sindoor, or were they sort of equating India and Pakistan and saying, we don't war, both countries are to blame or both countries are at fault? What is the view that you got?
If I can be candid, there were mixed responses. They had their own questions, their own concerns. But I can tell you one thing, they received us very well, and we got an opportunity to explain the stand of India. We could convey the message of India. We could extend our request to them, saying that when we are combating terrorism, it cannot be done by a country alone. We need to have the support of these countries. And all these countries are very important for us. Japan, Korea, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, all these countries with which we have long-standing relationship, and some of these countries have buoyant trade and commerce with India. So we find it extremely important that we could get their ears, and we could interact with cross-section of people, with state actors like ministers, parliamentary group, then think tanks, media. And another facet is that in a couple of countries, including Japan and Indonesia, we could reach out to the ambassadors of other countries. Japan, we could, meet at least ambassadors and representatives of 20-25 countries. In Jakarta, we could interact with the ASEAN ambassadors. So we had an opportunity to convey the message of India that this is a time when all these nations have to lend their support to India.
But Mr. Brittas, the whole thing started off with the terror attack. Conveniently in the Western narrative, or even the narrative that is there around the world, that fact seems to have been forgotten. The terror attack is what forced India to launch Operation Sindoor. Was your delegation, other delegations, able to convey that to the foreign interlocutors that you met, that India had no option? Any sovereign country, any democratic country has the right to defend itself. That's why Operation Sindoor was undertaken, because the narrative seems to be that there's an equanimity now between India and Pakistan, and that's worrisome.
No, see, that was one difficulty we faced, the hyphenation of India and Pakistan. But we could draw a distinction between India and Pakistan very effectively. India being a country of rich diversity, plurality, a buoyant democratic process, whereas Pakistan controlled by a military which would thrive in clashes and skirmishes. This message also was effectively conveyed. I think they could understand that. And most of these countries believe in progress, and they have huge aspirations like we have. So we could gel very well. It's not that, we could win them all over, or, our mission was successful. Saka, we didn't go for a 2020 game. Okay. So it's an ongoing process. It was a soft power diplomacy, and we need to build on it. But I can very well say that we could at least influence many people, at least made them to listen to the point of view of India. Because as you rightly said, there was a narrative which was not very conducive to us, conducive to India's cause. For example, Uncle Trump had done so much of damage in that part of the globe. So many questions were asked with regard to the role of US. What could have been the role played by Trump? And also countries like Japan, Korea, they had huge concerns with regard to nuclear weapons. They had been victims of nuclear weapons. So we sufficiently explained to them that, you see, for us, nuclear weapon is a deterrent. And India is one country which has adopted the doctrine of no first use, like that. And they also had concerns. Will it affect their investments? See, they have huge investments in our country, especially all these countries, Singapore, Japan, Korea. So all these concerns were aired. And I feel that since these concerns came up to us, naturally it was an opportunity for us to, respond to that. If at all we had not gone there, these concerns would have been very formidable, that they would have remained intact there. So when somebody asks me whether, was it a success or a failure, I will always say that it was not a 2020 cricket match. But whether, somebody loses the match or wins the match.
But tell me now, Mr. Brittas, there was a political consensus, political unity even domestically amongst all political parties that we need to come together and we need to put forth India's point of view. And that's why delegations like the one that you represented went out. But now that political consensus seems to be broken. Mr. Rahul Gandhi again and again goes on and says that, look, Trump was the one who enforced this surrender. He says Narendra surrender and so on and so forth. Does this play well? Is that political unity now broken? That consensus now broken?
See, Saka, since I am back now, my message to this government would be this. We have fulfilled our obligation of being part of this outreach. Now, let the government fulfill its obligation of taking the country into confidence. We went there with the intention of taking the world community into confidence. Now, the primary task of the government is to take the country into confidence. For that, in a parliamentary democracy, the parliament needs to be convened. There is no harm in parliament meeting for 2 days as a special session to discuss the whole gamut of issues. There are concerns. In a democracy like ours, questions are need to arise. I won't fault Rahul Gandhi for that. The way in which he put across the question, you can naturally decide to say it's not the way he has to hear the question. But I can tell you, I have numerous questions in my mind. When I was part of the mission, of course, there was a motto there. But when I am back here, my questions are as buoyant as the concerns of other peoples also. So I have a question. What happened in Pahalgam? Was there a security failure? Was there intelligence failure? What was the role of Uncle Trump in this? Did we sufficiently rebut his claims? Didn't he carry India to even the courts of America? Let us discuss all that. What should be the way out? There have been piecemeal information with regard to the losses we suffered. I think Parliament is the best forum where we need to debate and have a discourse on it. So the government needs to shoulder its responsibility, fulfill its responsibility.
Hopefully some of those questions will be asked and answers will be sought when the monsoon session convenes. I believe the dates are already out, 3rd week of July. Thank you very much, Mr. Brittas, for joining us.
Network 18 is now the clear leader in digital media, with 55% more users on native platforms and social media than Times Internet. Network 18, the undisputed leader of news networks, way ahead of the times.